All right. I lowered the settings. I apologize if I'm not as crispy and shiny as I might be otherwise. But hopefully this will smooth things out. We'll check in. Let me know. And make your music. Thank you so much. You guys, I don't know if you have to re-hit the like or not to start the stream and all that kind of stuff. When I restart the stream, if that happens. So apologies if you do. I'm trying to get this place up and firing so I have multiple options when I'm in LA. And I think it should be smoother. We'll see. I'm checking the chat right now. You're back. What's going on? That's the problem, is I have no energy. That's supposed to be, hey, what's happening? The kidney is the least of our worries. That's next. Once I can get everything smoothly running, then we'll start jumping in with all the bells and whistles and craziness and silly pants things as well. And let's see, we're going to go back to here. And we're going to go back to here. And I'll try this and I'll go to this guy. And I'll go back to here. And then I'll go back to here. And I think this is here. Nope. Not going to let me. Okay. All right. 1 second. Quit. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, I've got very fluffy hair. I did big hair for the show last night. Yeah, re-hit the like button. Help me reset this business. And then we will let's go to here first. Did that work? Go there first. And then let me switch over and we will do our first clip of the night. We're going to see how this stuff works. Remember, okay, there's a bunch of shit to cover, but let's start with this. Remember how I was saying to you guys that all the stuff that RFK Jr. Is trying to do as far as food dyes and food additives is Democratic talking points by and large. But and so if the Republicans are the one that get it across the line, I'm taking the W, okay? We're taking the win. You and I, we're taking the win. If these assholes finally decide that the way to win over voters is to do stuff Democrats have been talking about forever in terms of public health, elimination of pesticides, elimination of poisonous and toxic food dyes, microplastics, all that shit, the stuff that we as environmentalists and people who care have been talking about for a long time. If they start doing that, high five. I give a shit. Take credit for it, dipshit. If you're saving lives, I don't care. But ultimately, you got to understand these were our talking points and you needed them to stay in office. That's because we know what we're doing. Okay. Secondly, I also told you that a lot of these things would have probably been handled a long fucking time ago if it wasn't for Republicans. And meanwhile, remember this guy, the great Gonzo? I'm all like, I should move myself down. I should shrink down like that so you can see stuff. This is there was a hearing. RFK Jr. has not done his fucking budget, hasn't done any of the work. Just like Kash Patel, these dickheads are just going to fucking UFC fights and wasting everybody's time and just like they're just enjoying the fame of their office while not doing the fucking job. That's what their days are made up doing. I'm just saying. So, but listen to this, whatever, Forbes, there's your thumbnail, whatever. There's a red dye. It was apparently going into, I don't know, they're dyeing clay testicles. I don't know. And then it's funny, but you look at RFK Jr. and he doesn't look like he swam in swamp water. So, check out the title of this guy. I think these dyes are safe. GOP lawmaker questions Secretary RFK Jr. on dyes used in food. Well, shit. If you think they're safe, I don't know what the fuck the rest of us are on about. And this goes right to my point. These are Democratic goals that he is getting across the finish line. I'm sorry it takes measles deaths to do it. It wouldn't if people would just vote sensibly for Democrats. But, some folks out there in the nihilist Gen G Wiz or Gen Zers or Gen Sexers or the baby doomers, whatever those generations are. Some of them are like, it's a coin flip between Harris and Trump. But at least with Trump, you get the greatest grift in the history of the White House in terms of a $400 million airplane and a bunch of violations of the Emoluments Clause. You get a bunch of babies with cancer kicked out of the country, and you get some dipshit in charge of Homeland Security that wants to play dress up. So, if it's a jump ball, apparently these folks would like the obliteration of Gaza and the obliteration of immigrant children. I guess it's for them, it's a win-win. So here we go. I think these guys are safe.
Anyway, let me recognize Mr. Flashman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, good morning. I'm Chuck Flashman. I represent the 3rd District of Tennessee. That's East Tennessee, Chattanooga, Oak Ridge.
Yeah. Big, lot of health resorts out there. A lot of organic food grown. I'm fucking with you. It's tobacco.
I want to thank you for stepping up in this important role and serving our great president, President Trump, in all of your endeavors.
Hallowed be his name. Amen.
I want to begin with a thank you.
You should begin, which is, if you're a believer, that's how you start every sentence, by be beginning.
I'm going to have some questions later about some other issues, but thanking you for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation under HHS, what it does with Oak Ridge, which was the birthplace of the Manhattan Project.
And the boys. Just saying, you're gonna be from Tennessee and you're not gonna bring up the Oak Ridge boys? Fuck is wrong with you, dude?
Oak Ridge National Laboratory in my district.
And the Oak Ridge boys.
It works to make sure that the Energy Employee Occupational Illness Compensation Program.
Illness? Is that like be beginning? Do you be begin with the illness? Is that like film, but with sickness?
The Department of Energy is run well, and it is. This keeps our hardworking
Energy
employees insured and cared for long after their years of service. So that's a profound thank you to you and yours for running that so well.
Citation needed. He didn't invent the fucking thing.
Mr. Secretary, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Food and Drug Administration.
Weird.
That is under my dear colleague and friend Andy Harris's jurisdiction. I chair Energy and Water. But while I have you here, Mr. Secretary, I know the FDA has taken significant steps to ban or phase out synthetic food colorings over the years, and I respect that.
Do you, though?
Current colors, though, Mr. Secretary, that are used and have been approved by FDA have been deemed safe for many years. Candidly, I represent many snack manufacturers
and largely snack consumers.
I'm a big fan of the oatmeal cream pie.
Though, what? Look, what you do in your own time.
In many ways.
I think just one way, just eating it, I think. I don't think you stare at it for its aesthetics. It's 2 oatmeal cookies with sugar lard in the middle, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but for fuck's sake, like, you don't stare at it longingly from out a car window. Hey, babe, let's go drive by the giant oatmeal cream pie outside of town. Look at the sunset across its crispy outer brownish gray shell.
I have M&Ms in my district. I know you're going to come and visit me in a couple of weeks. We can all have some M&Ms and Little Debbie's together.
Yeah. Oh, and he'll eat it too. I mean, dude, I don't get the part where the dude will literally swim in swamp water that is toxic. It's got like industrial waste in it, but he's like, ew, Little Debbie snack cakes.
But on a very serious note,
Very.
we want to make sure that FDA has done due diligence to ensure the safety of these replacement colors.
No, you don't. No. You don't get to do that. You voted in Trump. You just sang his praises. RFK Jr. has been put in charge. Whatever he does, fuck you.
Work with me on that, because candidly, I think these dyes are safe. They've been approved, but really trying to find substitutes. The costs, we've seen estimates 5 to 10 times try to fix that. Will you work with me on that, sir?
Yeah, absolutely, Congressman. And
Absolutely. By the way, I'm completely full of shit about these things. This is largely a distraction.
one of the, I think, the really important accomplishments that we've done over the past 100 days is we've been working with the food industry. And
Yes, absolutely. Hand in asshole.
we found the food industry very, very receptive. We think we have good science that links almost all of these dyes with ADHD, with neurological injury, with cancer.
So basically, but you got to understand, frankly, if I may be, or rather candidly, I should just say candidly, because we got Skittles in my district too. If you want to come down to Tennessee, not only do we have M&Ms and Little Debbie's, we got a bunch of fucking kids that are, I mean, I can't get their attention with a signal flare. So we have cornered the market on all of the toxicity that you're talking about down there, and we think it's good, you know, because the world needs ditch diggers.
And they've agreed to phase out the two worst of them, which is orange bee and red citrus number 3.
What happened to red dye number 5? Red citrus number 3.
Within 2 months, and the other 7 dyes within 2 years. And some of the food companies like Tyson's Food have already eliminated them because of our talks. They asked us to do one thing. They said, can we try to fast track the vegetable dye substitutes that we need? And we have fast tracked those, and we've already got them approved.
Great. Yes. One of the new green colors, they're replacing one of these toxic chemical greens with poison ivy. Very vibrant leaf, very bright. It has a crispness when the sun bounces off of it. It's very bright, kind of a glowy green. Makes your mouth and every piece of connecting tissue out your backside itch uncontrollably, but it's just gorgeous. And no plant ever has been shown, and I know you guys know this to be a fact, to have any negative impact on the human beings. There are no poison berries in the world, and there are certainly no colors that come from those things that are completely natural, like lava and flea bites and malaria. Malaria is also completely organic, I would like to say. None of these are going to be a problem.
We have 3 dyes approved this week that are substitute dyes that can be used by the food industry. And we're going to continue to respond to the needs of the food industry.
And those would be?
To continue to work with them. And I'm happy.
Again, it is weird that they're like, for a long time, we've known these things are toxic. There are replacements for them, but we'll just green light those right away. If we find out 10 years from now that they are as toxic or more toxic, I mean, is anybody really going to come after us? It'll be too fucking late.
Work with you, Congressman.
And I thank you. I thank you for your question and your answer and your response.
All the above, your words and the order that those words came in, and whether those words went up at the end so that it sounded like a question or down at the end where it seems like a statement. I don't know which is which, but I thank you for that. Skittle?
I wanted to talk with you about this subcommittee's oversight of the 340B drug discount program. I'm a strong supporter of that. I have hospitals in my district. It provides funding to safety net community health centers, hospitals, and other healthcare providers. Nope.
Sorry, Chattanooga. You can't be we can't afford it. We're too much in debt. What are we spending this money on? These are the tax dollars. Taxation is theft. Blue states are done paying for these red state sickos. I'm just kidding. Look at the irony.
with discounts from prescription drug sales. CHCs and rural hospitals across Tennessee have become dependent upon this program.
You don't say. Dependent. Huh. So the government program you're talking about is reliable and necessary, and people would be harmed without it. Big run out of Washington, D.C., this program is? Is that what I hear? That these people have come to rely on? This program that was voted on by all kinds of people, largely Democrats, and now it's in place, and you're worried about it being cut because blue states can afford to support their own citizens, but red states will be,
Just a question, sir. We've heard that this department will move oversight from HRSA to CMS. Can you either confirm or deny that, sir?
I can't because of the court order, but I can tell you.
He has no idea.
The 340B program, as you know, is it's not a straightforward program because it was originally intended for 100 institutions that were serving very poor communities. It's now
Which are all in Tennessee.
grown to 27,000 institutions. The patients themselves seldom get the benefits of the drug reduction, and actually 100,000.
Hey, asshole, he just told you that people in his district benefit from this thing. So you have two options here. One, you can say, I apologize. I was under the impression that patients aren't helped by this. Or you could go, we're going to help more patients because we want to expand it to more patients, but not to more organizations, which I think is the dodge that they will try. Or you can say, you're a liar, sir, and you probably work for Big Pharma.
Look at all the kind of satellite institutions. But we also recognize that it is the lifeblood of rural hospitals right now.
Yes. Nothing says lifeblood of rural hospitals like a 27,000 organization boondoggle that needs to be scuttled. Make up your fucking mind.
So we can't mess with that program without giving those rural hospitals something else that is going to support them, and we understand that.
Okay, what would that be? It sounds a lot like your ACA bullshit. It sounds a lot like Trump's, I have a much big, better, beautiful, big, better, beautiful thing planned 2 weeks from now. Great plan. It's going to come. You're going to be amazed. It's going to glow in the dark and be covered in gold, and it'll purr your teeth, curl your hair, and give your tongue a sleigh ride. Meanwhile, we'll make do with the thing that Democrats actually designed and built and created.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
I can tell you that the drug companies are worried because if we do what President Trump wants, which is, through compliance with the executive order to go to
their clients will die.
Favored nation, it will lower the price of all drugs, which means it will further lower the cost of 340B drugs, and they consider that existential. So that is a problem that we all need to work out together.
Yeah, he didn't ask you about, are you going to cut the program because it's a waste of taxpayer dollars and it doesn't help people. He's concerned you're going to cut it, which is going to make drugs more expensive for people. The whole Big Pharma storyline is bullshit and besides the point.
Okay,
that's I don't even know, other than selling Little Debbie snack cakes, what this motherfucker is even talking about, except to suck up to Trump and also go, yeah, about that. Now, this is Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut. I gotta say, when people talk about how Democrats aren't doing enough or aren't doing anything at all or any of that shit, I'd like to remind everyone that they do this stuff all day long, and this is, there are a lot of boring parts of governing that Trump and his ilk hate to do, but it's the majority of what they have to do and they should be doing, okay? And one of them is just put together a fucking budget so we know what you're going to spend money on and what you aren't. So check this out.
The ranking member, Mr. Lauro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me just one area of correction, which has to do with the measles issue, Mr. Secretary. You keep comparing the U.S. to other countries. You compare us to Europe, but the Europe you are referring to is the WHO European region. That's 53 countries in Europe and in Asia, including those with low vaccination rates like Romania, that has never eliminated measles. If you compare us to Western Europe countries that we often compare ourselves to, like Great Britain, they have seen no measles death this year. Let me move to the NIH. In your testimony, you say you want to quote.
By the way, can I just say that's how it's done? Rosa DeLauro, that's how it's done. Fantastic. One of the ways that they do what I would call statistics washing, you broaden the base so fucking wide that it obscures the details. That's one of the big ways you lie with statistics, is you weight the statistic by either watering it down or being over specific. And I would argue that like RFK Jr. Waters them down across a broader swath to make the United States as a single country look worse, when if they went country by country, there'd be a lot more normalized parallels than they would care to admit. And like the singling out of stuff, like Mehdi Hassan tends to do this all the time, where he will take anecdotal single stuff and avoid the greater number without applying that number to anything that's measurable in the reality. That's the broad spectrum of how you can fuck around and lie with numbers.
Rescale our biomedical research budget, unquote. Excuse me, but that's BS. You are not rescaling NIH research. You are proposing to cut it by $20 billion. And according to our colleagues in the Senate, NIH has effectively cut research funding by $2.7 billion this year in comparison to the same period last year. That's a cut of 35% during that period. That includes cutting cancer research by 31%. This is the report put out by the Senate, Trump's War on Science, which goes into detail about how we are, in fact, dealing with cutting scientific research. Mr. Secretary, are you freezing or withholding funding that Congress appropriated in 2025 for life-saving NIH research?
Let me address your first issue first, because I want to correct you. We have about 1,100 measles cases in this country. The growth rate last year was 15 additional, so we have plateaued. Mexico has roughly the same number with a third of our population, and they got 300 extra cases last week. Canada has more measles, 1,500. They have 1/8 of our population. Western Europe has about 6,000, which is 10 times the number that we have.
Well,
you are wrong.
And also, Western Europe is not a country. See how he's doing it?
We can discuss that, but I
also, Mexico, the cases that they have are in like hugely impoverished areas, not in areas where you would have vaccination. And in Canada, you have a bunch of people like you have in the United States that avoid vaccination and live half off the grid.
One has to consider whether or not we're dealing with decades of data proving how effective and safe the measles vaccine is. I want to move to that. I want my questions answered on, are you freezing and withholding funding that Congress appropriated in 2025 for life-saving NIH research?
We are not withholding any funding for life-saving research.
Okay.
Yeah, Alzheimer's isn't life-saving. Cancer you can fix with vitamin D, so I don't know why that would be life-saving. Notice that fucking workaround?
Do you commit to following the law?
Of course.
Fully obligating funding that Congress appropriated. We appropriated, it is the law of the land for NIH research, and to obligate those funds by September 30th of this year. Or are you planning to break the law by impounding congressionally appropriated funds?
If you appropriate me the funds, I'm going to spend them.
We have in the bill. You are cutting the NIH by $18 billion, or you're proposing to cut it by $20 billion. The Congress appropriated those funds. It passed into law. It's part of the 2024 budget, and we are under a continuing resolution that has adopted the 2024 numbers. How then can you justify?
All right, real quick. What did I fucking say? Chat room, what did I fucking say? about the CR, about Schumer and the CR. We're still on Biden's budget. The only thing they can do is add funds on top of that through secondary bills, which is what they've done. They passed like 5 things and they've added some funding, or they took discretionary funding and moved it around. But they weren't able to eliminate these programs outright like they want to, because we're still under a CR and they haven't passed a budget. And at this rate, they're not going to. Now, if you allow the government to shut down, Trump and his cronies will say, well, technically at this moment, these programs are not funded. Therefore, if the government wants them funded again, then Congress can pass a bill to recreate the Department of Education. They can create FEMA again from scratch. That's what they'll do. Understand that. If you shut down the government, they're going to use that gap legally to shut down these programs. Now, there may be a fight in the Supreme Court to be had. There may be a fight in the circuit court to be had about whether or not they can do that, or whether you can do that during a temporary government shutdown, or what qualifies as a temporary government shutdown. But if there's no law in place because funding has run out as far as what the government has actually allocated for these things, those programs no longer exist. I mean, you could, in theory, zero out the entire Department of Defense if you wanted to. Obviously, most of those things are when they shut down the government, they go first for the discretionary stuff. But technically speaking, nothing is funded. They're having to shuffle money around to pay for it, but the Congress has not specifically allocated funds.
$20 billion from the biomedical research budget.
If you appropriate the money to me, I'm going to...
They already did, you dumb motherfucker.
We have appropriated, Mr.
Right,
Secretary.
then I'm going to spend it.
Then you're going to spend it. You're not going to cut $20 billion from the NIH.
The White House proposal is to do very, very large cuts at NIH.
Well, that is contrary to
but
the
if-
money
if
appropriated.
Ranking member,
Yes.
if Congress appropriates me the money, I'm going to spend the money. You have the power of the purse here.
Thank
sure
you.
You know that.
Thank you for reiterating that, but I think...
Right, but you can't cut stuff that's been allocated. That's the point. You guys seem to think you can, is her point. And this is so fucking good. It's so good that she's calling him out on this shit.
I'm not sure the administration really has internalized that, particularly Mr. Vogt hasn't internalized that when he says that we can in fact, impound money. The money is there. The 2024 budget includes the funding for the NIH. Will you commit to spending the money that is in 2024 in that budget?
As I said, ranking member, if you appropriate the money, I'm going to spend that money.
The money has been appropriated. So the answer to that is if you're not willing to accept the funds that have been lawfully voted by members of the House and Senate on the money for the National Institutes of Health. We're going to hold you to your word that that funding is there. It should be transferred from 24 to 25, and you've cut already $20 billion. Let's get that money back. Let's get that money back. You have an obligation to carry out the law and to implement what the Congress has done.
By the way, she's not going to get a lot of pushback from Republicans about this because, again, most of this funding goes to their districts. The worst health outcomes in the United States are in red districts, both per capita and by population.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I agree.
Chronic disease and tobacco. Tobacco use is a major contributor to chronic disease and is a leading preventable cause of death in our nation. Each year, killing nearly 500,000 Americans, costing the nation nearly $250 billion in healthcare costs. CDC's tips from former smokers' media campaign alone is estimated to have saved more than $7 billion in healthcare costs by helping more than 1 million smokers quit. Why did you eliminate CDC's Office of Smoking and Health, an office that reduces the number of kids using tobacco products, helps order tobacco users to quit, and saves taxpayers dollars?
We have, under the reorganization, and I'm going to talk very, very broadly.
No. By the way, the reason he's going to talk very, very broadly is because if he answers specifically, his answer is yes, and it's just because they're trying to cut money so that so Trump can have his tax cut. They're just bare bonesing shit. They don't have a reasoning for it. They're just like, look, if the government has to talk you into doing something or remind you that something's poisonous or toxic, why are they helping you? You should just die. That's the argument. If the government has to tell you that smoking is bad for you at this point, then shouldn't you just die? And if you do, well, at some point we're going to allow the health companies, the healthcare industry to not treat you anymore. That's the next step in this.
Because as of 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, we are under a court order not to do any further planning on the reorganization. And
Yeah, it's because you can't do any cuts because you're still on the same budget before, you dumb motherfucker. That's what she was talking about.
I've been advised by my attorneys and not to talk about it. But I will just say broadly, many of the
No, you can talk about it. You can say, like, we're not doing any restructuring until such time as Congress changes their budgetary rules and the amount of money that they're giving to us and where that money should go, where it should be allocated.
that the Democrats are now saying we're cut at CDC. We're not cut at all. Those programs were transferred to the Administration for Healthy America.
The Administration for Healthy America, the MAHA group.
I'm not permitted to talk in any more detail because of a court order.
That's just stupid. Yes, you are.
Yeah, we're just dealing with words.
That's all. I mean, again, that's fucking nonsense. This is like a ongoing investigation excuse. I can't talk about an ongoing investigation. Motherfucker, they just told you can't go any further with your restructuring. So what she's asking you is, if they've given you money and it's already allocated and it's in the budget to go to a certain program or a certain department, you have to put it there. Your directions on stuff or you're being the fucking voice of the entire organization is one thing, but Congress gets to decide where things go and how much.
Transfer it here. There's less money overall for the agency.
Whoops. What happened? Did my headphones come out? Did I lose audio on this? Hold on 1 second.
We're just dealing with words. You transfer it here, there's less money overall for the agency, therefore there's less money for the programs. In both 2024, 2025, Congress, again, power of the purse resides here, appropriated $246 million for CDC's tobacco prevention programs. Do you commit to following the law again, fully obligating those funds so that we can help adults who want to quit using tobacco and prevent teens from becoming addicted?
Allow me to answer that by pointing out the absolute cataclysmic disorganization of this agency under your oversight for 40 years.
Fuck you, dude. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so, you're right. He's an asshole.
We had 9 separate offices of women's health. When we consolidate them, the Democrats
Let me guess.
were eliminating them or not. We're still appropriating the 3.7, but we're not keeping all.
Hold on. Let me guess. There was one for tribal women. There was one dealing with low-income women. There was one dealing with like breast cancer and survivor networks and the like. There was one dealing with reproductive health. There was one dealing with menopause as a primary thing. And that each of these areas, because they are heavy lifting on their own as per each issue, all of those dealt with a sector of women's health under an umbrella of women's health. And so 9 different offices have a meaningful mandate individually for each of those things. But you don't understand that, you fucking scrotum.
And we had 8 separate offices for minority health. We eliminated 1. We had 27.
You had 8, you eliminated 1. Why, were there 2 black ones? Sorry, you know what? Who am I to say? Maybe he's right. Maybe all minorities are alike. Maybe just the very nature of being a minority makes you similar in your dietary issues and your health concerns and your environmental factors and your genetic concerns. Because, why? This motherfucker probably eliminated the sickle cell department because it doesn't apply to Asians and Hispanic. It can't be broadly thrown across all minorities. So who needs it?
HIV offices.
Okay, let me just, I'm going to
We had
interrupt because
59
the
behavioral
chair is
health
right.
programs.
I'm well over time. If you could just get us what has been eliminated, why you're doing it, and the criteria by which the elimination has occurred. That is information that this committee needs in order to be able to do our job in terms of appropriating funds. Thank you
And
for
we
your
will
indulgence.
gladly provide that to you, but right now we're
Also, gladly bullshit. He is not. They have not done a budget. There was another. Let's see if I can fucking find this. Hold on. Where is this dipshit? Yeah, it's on the other one. He one of the people held up. I know where it is. Hold on. Is it Swalwell's thing? All right, this is actually fucking.
A license.
Yeah. Here's okay. So this is Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire. And this is some of the boring side of this budgetary thing, and yet it is the most meaningful.
Which fined him $10,000 for
And
practice.
she's talking about one of the people that the dude he put in charge of infectious disease, I think.
Medicine without a license. He does not have a medical license. And for providing and instructing and giving children hormone blockers. That is what the finding of the Maryland Department, the state of Maryland, its medical licensing board was. And I'll submit that for the record, I hope with unanimous consent.
I'm assuming that you don't know what I'm about to tell you, or you wouldn't say something that was so dishonest. You may or may not know that David Geyer sued the American.
Oh, I do know that. I do know that. That doesn't change the findings, nor does it change the experience of the parents who testified.
That finding was reversed by court, and he was awarded $5 million.
That is not true. Now, let me ask you. So I just want confirmation. David Geyer is still at HHS. I wrote you a letter about this.
Boy, he just collapses under that. That's not true.
And you have not responded.
Well, I apologize for that. That's our bad.
My bad. You know the part of my job that I'm supposed to do?
I will respond, but David Geyer is not managing autism research.
So what is his job? What is his job at HHS? This is somebody who gave parents the impression that he was a doctor and gave hormone blockers to children as young as 8, telling them that hormone blockers would somehow magically help their kids with autism.
His father is
His father is a doctor, but he is not.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, Trump had an uncle who was at MIT, and that makes him smart, right? And Elon Musk is making brain children. Don't you know how, like, genes work, lady?
His father was not in the room and did not, and he faked his father's signature according to the State Board of Medicine.
And that ruling was overturned by a court. So what you're saying is just wrong. It's just a lie. And they were actually, the court said that the Maryland Board of Physicians was guilty of actual malice in fabricating those charges against David Geyer.
Well, we will pursue this.
So-
And I will submit for the record.
So do you want to know why we brought David Geyer in?
Sure.
Because it wasn't to run autism research. In 2002, the CDC runs a vaccine safety data link, which is supposed to be the vaccine information for the biggest HMOs that are supposed to allow
By the way, he's super fucking agitated right now.
CDC to have a surveillance system for vaccine injury. It's a backstop system.
Right, and what he wants to do is open it up so that anybody could log into it no matter where they are in the world and pretend to be from wherever they are. Because of HIPAA rules on it, you don't have to give any relevant information. It can just be anecdotal attacks at vaccines.
The CDC will not let any physicians in there to look at it or any scientists, independent scientists.
He's neither a scientist nor a physician.
Right. Congress ordered CDC to open.
Yeah, but he drinks raw milk and he dips his junk in toxic swamp water on a regular basis. So what'd you do? What'd you do this weekend?
So they are the only scientists who have ever been in there.
But again, Mr. Geyer is not a scientist. Thank you.
Independent scientists.
Okay, Senator Heston's time's expired, but before we move on, did you have a unanimous consent request that I heard in there, Senator?
Thank you, Senator Hawley. I did. A unanimous consent request for the printout of the website that shows Dr. Geyer is in, not Dr. Geyer, that's his father, Mr. Geyer, is employed, and also a unanimous consent request for the finding from the Board of Licensing in Maryland.
Without objection to both of those. And now, Mr. Kennedy, before we get to my time, do you want, if you'd like to finish your response, go ahead, and then I'll recognize myself.
Also, he jumps in. Now, I got to say, this will be kind of shocking to all you guys. Watch how Holly reacts. And again, this has a lot to do with the fact that red states have really bad health outcomes on the regular, and that Holly represents a state with really bad health care and really bad health care outcomes.
David Geyer is the only living independent scientist who's seen the VSD inside. There's been a lot of monkey business with the VSD, including allegations of fraud.
I guess including letting a guy who's not a scientist and not a doctor look at it.
And he was,
if he even did,
by an independent contractor that not as an HHS employee, but by an independent contractor.
Oh, like a public-private partnership? Glenn Beck will love that.
At the documents that we were getting to the VSD to see if they conformed with what he saw between 2002 and 2016. And that's the only reason that he was brought in, to see if there was, there's so much information that has disappeared from that database. The only way we could find out what information disappeared was because he was the one guy who saw it.
And just
well, why didn't he just send you his copies of what he saw? What's he going to tell you? That he recognizes numbers from 10, 12 years ago?
Records show he's not a scientist. Thank you very much.
All right. Secretary Kennedy, different subject, on a different subject. You and I have talked before.
Yeah, and at this
when you've been before
at this point, smooth sailing. It's a Republican senator. Here we go.
And you and I have talked in person a number of times about mifepristone. I just want to follow up with you because since the last time you were before the committee and the last time you and I spoke, there's been a major study by the Ethics and Public Policy Center of 865,727 prescribed cases of mifepristone abortions, chemical abortions, between 2017 and 2023. Have you seen this study? Are you familiar with this? Do you know?
Yes, I am.
You will remember then that this data shows the biggest study on mifepristone done, I think, ever, and it showed that nearly 11% of women experience very serious adverse health effects, to include sepsis, hemorrhaging, infection, of course, emergency room visits. Now, and
a lot of that, you think that's unique to an economic subgroup or a particular, like an educational subgroup, for example. You think there's maybe some alignment between the difficulty of getting the treatment and using it and how much instruction you get versus trying to get it and having to go out of state or not having it be able to get it directly from your own doctor, that percentage might be lowered immensely by you guys just letting women go to their doctor.
That's 22 times higher. That rate is 22 times higher than the FDA's current label, which says it's just 0.5, the incidence of serious adverse health events. So my question to you is this. You previously testified to the committee that
Here's the question. What's the cause of those previous those adverse health events? Is it the drug itself? Is it the lack of guidance in the administration? Is it secondary and follow-up care? It is the myriad of complications that happen or the timing difference in some pregnancies, and when, if you apply it too late in the pregnancy, it's more difficult for a woman's system. I'm sorry, no, it's probably just it's mislabeled, so we should throw it out.
Do a top-to-bottom review of mifepristone. Mifepristone is subject to a REMS currently. You have said you'll do a top-to-bottom review. Do you continue to stand by that, and don't you think that this new data shows that the need to do a review is in fact very pressing?
I think the new data, first of all, it validates the CAS study, which is previously probably the most comprehensive data that we've seen on it, and it's alarming, and clearly it indicates that at very least the label should be changed. I've asked Marty McCary, who's the director of FDA, to do a complete review and to report back.
Good. Do you have any sense of timeline, Mr.
I do
Secretary,
not.
of that? It will be a top priority, though, for you. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, right there underneath actually putting a budget together and setting up a leadership system for the entire organization before people start dying of infectious diseases for no fucking reason.
You say that it probably indicates the label needs to be changed. Do you think it's also important as part of your review to consider whether it's necessary now to put back in place the long-standing safety protocols that always accompanied mifepristone until the last administration? In-person dispensing, doctor visits, screening for...
Yeah, but that was that was when all states allowed for it. And they're getting to a point. If women have direct care, you don't have these adverse outcomes. And what you're willing to do is sacrifice 11% of these women to possibly never being able to have children again just so you can stick your fucking religious flag in the ground.
Big pregnancies.
I know that Marty McCary will make a recommendation. I feel that the policy changes will ultimately go through the White House, through President Trump.
But you'll make a recommendation based on the data?
Yes.
Good. On a different subject, talking about the advertising that is routinely done by pharmaceutical companies. You have been a longtime critic of direct-to-consumer pharmaceutical advertising.
Yes, pharmaceuticals are very... I'm against it.
You wrote, I think, in the Wall Street Journal, that is routinely done by pharmaceutical companies. You have been a longtime critic of direct-to-consumer pharmaceutical advertising.
Pharmaceutical. Mm-hmm.
You wrote, I think, in the Wall Street Journal a little over a year ago about the need to revisit guidelines around pharmaceutical advertising. Is that still your view? I mean, has your view changed?
Pharmaceutical advertising is particularly insidious because,
Yeah, because, every time I'm sitting there trying to watch Fox News with Trump, he starts asking me about the little blue pill. And I keep telling him I'm not a doctor, but I have a pocket full of them if you want one.
commercial advertising has some level of First Amendment protection, not as great as political speech. It doesn't have the kind of strict scrutiny applied to political speech. It still has a level of protection. But pharmaceutical advertising is unique because if a company is advertising, for example, Coca-Cola, the consumer has a choice to whether to buy it, and then he's spending his own money on it, so he's got skin in the game. With pharmaceutical advertising, the consumer's purchasing the product, and it's usually the most expensive form of the product, so that they're usually advertising because they want to bury the existence and the availability of generic drugs that are much cheaper and equally effective. And
yeah, but it's a prescription drug, and I think a decent number of people go, is there a generic of it if it's really expensive? And they'll go, yeah, actually, there's a version that's $20 a pill or $10 a pill as opposed to 80 or whatever.
Consumer is spending not...
Maybe here's a good idea. How about a healthcare bill of rights? How about that? That there should be rules about when you go to a doctor, if they or they perceive to be outside of their specialty and they're making a decision about something that's rather big, you are guaranteed a second opinion, but you don't have to find a doctor to do it. They are responsible for, for paying for a second opinion if you don't feel like you can trust them. And secondarily, they have to offer you the generic if one exists. How about that? I mean, when you think of like first do no harm, I think it's within the Hippocratic Oath, right? Chat room, what do you think? Hold on, let me see. I'll scroll this over here. I don't even know if I'm still in the air. I'm just doing my show. So, what do you guys think about that? Like a specific, like a law that if a generic exists, a doctor must inform you. Yeah, Australia has generics by law. I think they should at least have to inform you that there is one. And please stop acting like these are serious. They're fucking idiots. Yes, I agree. But again, mostly these clips are about the Democrats that were actually working their ass off, and this rando shit that Hawley's talking about. It does bring up something valuable, and that should be a general rule that if a generic exists, maybe you don't want to take it. Maybe you'd rather have the name brand because you trust it more or something like that. But you should at least have, your doctor should be able to should be responsible enough to mention it to you, and they should have to do it because it's part of the Hippocratic Oath. If I am spending more money on the drug that I need to take than I actually need to get it, then that's money I am not spending on other stuff like food, right? In theory. So that first do no harm, making me pay more for a drug than I would have to ever would be a form of harm. Just saying. House Parks 2028.
Own money.
Oh, hold on. Is that him?
And most often our money, taxpayer money. Furthermore, the pharmaceutical ad is getting tax deductions, so we are funding it.
I want to ask you just about that. Under current law, pharma companies can deduct their advertising costs as a business expense.
All companies can do that. Why wouldn't it be?
It's time to change that?
Yeah, and I've actually have a call into Scott Bissan about that, but I'm working very hard.
Horseshit. By the way, you'd talk to Lutnick about it. He's in commerce, and it would violate the Commerce Clause. It would set different standards by which a product can sell. And if you're going to set those kind of rules, then you're saying that drugs are in a separate category all themselves and therefore should be much more regulated. If you could put that kind of rule on it, you would have already. How about just tighten the rules on what they can say and I don't know. First of all, let's just in drug ads, no more fucking musicals. I don't need to see people dancing down the street because they've danced away their A1C or they've their bronchial asthma is being treated so they can ride a fucking scooter through a mall. No musicals. Let's just start there. No dancing. It's a drug. Simmer down. I know it's a small thing, but you gotta start someplace. Yes, hit that like. Thank you very much. And share the show because it annoys maggots. All right, next up, where do we go to here? We went to that already. Yep. Now we went to that dipshit. Oh yeah. So Swalwell kicking ass and taking names. Let me show you this real quick because this MS-13 photo needs to be addressed, and Swalwell asked Noam over and over about the doctored picture of Abrego Garcia's knuckles that Trump pushed because Trump literally thinks the MS-13 is actually written, not translated, not they put an M and an S and a 1 and a 3 over it so they could show what they think the tattoos mean, but literally he thinks there's an M, S, and a 1 and a 3 on Abrego Garcia's knuckles. Let's be clear about that. They are not. They aren't. They are not. He does not have an M and an S and a 1 and a 3. You can argue about whether or not you think the tattoos on his knuckles mean that, but everybody in MS-13 is pretty overt about their membership. They have an M and an S and a 1 and a 3 on their person. They don't hide it for any particular reason. So, and they definitely don't have it added in a fucking standard font.
His time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Swalwell for 5 minutes of question.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You have an important job. I think you have one of the most important jobs in the cabinet. Thank you for doing it. I want you to have credibility and be taken seriously as you do the job. And so I want to put to rest
hold on. I think
this question about...
I think that ship has sailed. I think the amount of filler in her cheeks and lips alone kind of punts the credibility in terms of Department of Homeland Security. If you can't keep Botox out of your face, how are you going to keep terrorists out of the country?
Mr. Garcia, in this photo that the president posted on April 21, Madam Secretary, you agree that the letters MS and the number 13 in Times Roman numeral font, that they are doctored on this photo, right?
Congressman, Abrego Garcia.
No, I'm
known
just asking about
member
this
of
this
MS-13.
photo.
It wasn't based off of tattoos. It was
Okay.
based off an entire case.
And I'll accept
Entire
that
case against him.
for the purpose of this question. You agree, though, that this is doctored, is that right?
The same protocols that are
Madam
applied
Secretary,
to every
I want you to have
individual with law
credibility,
enforcement.
and I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not
Sir, I
doctored?
am taken quite seriously
Is it
because I
doctored
approach
or
my
not
job
doctored?
with the importance that the president has given me to do
I
my
understand.
job.
Is it doctored or
One
not
thing
doctored?
that's important to remember is that every single time a case is built.
Madam
against
Secretary, I have a
individuals under the
7-year-old, a
same
6-year-old, and a
protocols.
3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, the protocols in the case built against.
Can you
Abrego
answer the
Garcia
question?
were
Also,
exact-
can I say for the record, one of the other ways that Democrats could ask this question is who added the M and the S and the 1 and the 3 to this photo? Because we know they're not on his knuckles. They're not there. So asking if it's doctored or not, like, that's how she's weaseling out of this. She's trying to avoid saying that, which is fine. But asking directly, who in your department or in the White House, to your knowledge, put the M and the S and the 1 and the 3 on his knuckles? Because they are not there in reality. They weren't there in the original photograph. They are not there now. Nobody is removing tattoos in the prison in El Salvador. So what person is in charge of creating that imagery that taxpayer dollars were allocated to do this? And you have oversight over it in the House and in the Senate. So who, as part of their job, took this photo and put it in Photoshop and added an M and an S and a 1 and a 3 that are not there in reality? What person? Who is the person? Is there someone? And then she's like, if she tries to this way, like, is there someone I could talk to in your office who knows who this person is? We need to know the name of this person. Who did this? And who asked them to do it? Did you ask them to do it? Did you ask them to put an M and an S and a 1 and a 3 to explain this to the president because he was seemingly not understanding the pictogram theory?
The same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have
you're-
any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you
I
take
don't,
a,
sir.
can you show her the photo? Walk her the photo down there. No, that one. Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point?
My question is the numbers and the letter MS-13. Could you look at the photo, please? It's right in front of
Are
you.
you saying Abrego Garcia is not a wife beater?
No, ma'am.
That he's not a criminal.
Ma'am,
He's not a human trafficker. And he's not a member of MS.
You vouched for Mr. Garcia when
You're
your team
vouching for a
said,
man
ma'am, you
that is
vouched
a
for him when
known
you said he was
violent
mistakenly deported.
Sir.
I didn't vouch for him.
I did not say
In
that.
that
He
photo.
should have been deported. Absolutely.
It's
Way to go for it, Swalwell, by the way. And dropped a BS in the middle of this. And that's just become normal. I mean, what's next? We become the House of Commons where everybody just yells?
was
telling
never
that
a
you
mistake
won't look
to
at the
deport him,
photo.
and we will not be bringing
Was
him back
it
to this
doctored or
country.
not?
If in staying here, if
Can
he
you look
comes
to
back
your
this
right
country, he
at
would
the
be
photo in
deported
front of
right
you?
away.
Madam Secretary, can you look to the right at the photo in front of you?
I have seen this
Okay.
photo as you held it behind your heads.
Thank you. And the letters MS and the numbers 13, are those
Is
doctored
this
or
your entire
not?
testimony today is on a doctored photo? You don't want to talk about the facts?
All right, there you go. She admits it's doctored. Just take that and run with it. Okay, you admit it's doctored. Great.
The
Okay, so
importance of our national security,
you acknowledge it was
do to
doctored.
make
There you go. Yeah, way to go, Swalwell.
that the United States is protected.
Madam
and
Secretary,
from
this is not a
violent
hard question.
criminals?
Are those doctored or not?
Sir,
Is that actually on his hand or not?
This is unbelievable to me that you're focused.
It's unbelievable to me that you can't look at the photo and tell the
I
American
looked at
people.
the photo, but I don't have any knowledge as to this photo.
Okay, so it's been hanging out there for 4 weeks. You are one of the chief law enforcement officials in the country. What have you done to investigate whether the president misrepresented the reason that that person has been detained?
Sir,
have
we
you
spend our
done
time-
anything to try and figure out whether that was doctored or not?
The mission of the Department of Homeland Security is to secure our nation and to make sure that we're out there.
And as someone from a border state, even though that border is sort of Canada by another state, I'm from a border state. I border another Dakota.
After those that are the worst of the worst, the criminals, the bad actors, Abrego
Yes,
Garcia.
so the answer is
the
you've done
known
nothing to
terrorist,
correct the
member
president.
of MS-13, a wife beater and a human trafficker that should never have been in the.
Yeah, and Trump's an adjudicated rapist and a fraudster who's been convicted in a court of law, had all of his due process availed to him multiple times, had other cases against him, slow walked throughout. What's your point?
To begin with.
So,
But we can all look at a picture of him with his head on Rambo's body and know that that's a fake fucking picture.
Terry, thank you, Mr. Burnett. 2 weeks ago, your agency deported a 4-year-old American citizen in a stage 4 cancer battle. What are you doing to get him back to the country so he can get his treatment?
Congressman, this mother wished to keep her family together and to take her child with her. So as every single person is given the opportunity to, medical care is given throughout the process.
Okay, so it sounds like
and
nothing.
for this child, medical care was confirmed in their home country so that it would continue, and those treatments and whatever needs were needed to be had into the future were confirmed to be provided there before.
That child's home country is the United States. Do you believe you have a right to deport a U.S. citizen?
That mother chose to keep her family together, and that is what President Trump is focused on.
That's
making
not the
sure
facts of the case.
Yes, it is the facts.
Madam
This
Secretary,
mother-
But I think that baby was born in the United States. This is his point. And until they get rid of birthright citizenship, kid's an American.
on,
confirmed that she wanted to
do
keep
you
her
have a
child
right?
with her, and our families and parents are given that ability to keep their children with them when they return to their home countries.
Madam Secretary, do you have a right to deport a U.S. citizen?
No, we do not deport U.S. citizens and have not deported U.S. citizens.
Except the 4-year-old that we just
No,
referenced.
that mother chose to keep her child with her, and that is her prerogative, and the law was followed in allowing her the opportunity to do that.
So Madam Secretary, I'm a former prosecutor.
She's getting, by the way, she's getting around the deportation thing because they gave this woman a choice between being deported alone and leaving her child behind or taking her child with her when she was deported, not the option to stay with her child during the treatment process and be with her child who's an American citizen or work for citizenship because she has a child who's in these dire straits, which would just be normal asylum level stuff that you could work out. But the idea that they're going after the worst of the worst, or they're bouncing criminals, and it's really important. We're getting all these rapists and murderers and Hannibal Lecters out of the fucking country, and nothing about this woman has been presented. Like, as much as they want to shit on Abrego Garcia's record or whatever, nothing was presented about this woman other than the fact that she was here undocumented and she had a child while she was in the country.
Put people away for life sentences who are gang members. I don't need to wear costumes to show how tough I am. What makes me
Zing.
different from you is when I put those individuals away, I did it with the weight of the law behind me. And I yield back.
Boom. So this is going to be the answer they're going to give on each of these, is that this woman wanted to take her child because they gave her a Sophie's choice. One of these things where wherever she's going, you're either never going to see your kid again, and you'll never be able to get back into the country and see your kid again. That's what that's about. You're never going to be able, like, they wanted that kid out of the country with her, so they gave her it wasn't a choice. It was an ultimatum. That's what it was. It was not a choice. It was an ultimatum. Take your fucking kid, or we're going to keep it and you will never see it again because we're never going to let you into the country again. And he's 4 years old. Yeah. So, and I'm sure, yeah, somebody was saying no, she said give the child to the father. That too is like, that's why no one believes Kristi Noem. Honest to God, no, like, and why would you? There's this thing like, if you're lying, for Jesus, or you're lying as part of your intifada or your jihad or whatever, that there's a religious reason for deception in both Christianity and Islam. I'm not familiar of a version of that in Judaism, but there are specific, like, Old Testament, and technically speaking, I would argue that I guess it's Old Testament stuff, so it would be in there somewhere. But the idea is that if you have to lie to not get caught, and there's a little bit of that, I guess, in Peter's denials, that, you're going to deny him and it's a bad thing, but you're not going to burn in hell for it because you got to stay alive, right? So you're allowed to lie, whatever. But for the furtherance of these things, for the furtherance of whatever the prophecy is, the plan, you're allowed to lie on this behalf. Or if you're lying to an infidel or an outsider, it's not really a lie because they don't count until they've found Jesus or they've accepted Muhammad or they've converted forcibly. They don't matter as humans technically, so you can bullshit them all you want to, which is something that I think a bunch of maggots are trying to explain to Trump right now on his trip to the Middle East, but whatever. But the point is that Kristi Noem is one of these people. Kristi Noem is one of these people who believes that you should be able to lie about, whatever you want in the furtherance of whatever the goal is that you think is your holy war. Just saying. Okay, now, there is where's this dipshit? Okay, we did that one. And then, okay, so Trump talks about the China deal on the plane, and then he talks about these other things. So we'll take a look at this. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry I don't have a nut warning. Crap. I'll make one for this setup.
Mr. President.
Hi, thank you very much.
Also, what the fuck is Sean Hannity doing on this trip to Saudi Arabia other than he just gets a free fucking ride along?
Okay, by the way, we're on a beautiful Air Force One. Not a bad plane.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. It's a beautiful plane, and we're doing a lot of business. We have a lot of good things happening.
Okay, so this is an amazing week so far. You get a deal with China. I'm just going to list.
No, you didn't. No, there was no deal with China. Unless the art of the deal is, look, just keep talking. It's like the Carl Pilkington art of the deal. Sometimes when you say stuff, your brain, if you just keep talking, your brain will come up with things. Like stuff will just come out of your mouth.
Then we get into detail. India.
Details.
Pakistan played a big role. Hopefully the peace stands.
It didn't, and he didn't.
You slash prescription drug prices.
No, he didn't.
Nation, the American people will get first dibs in terms of prices.
Gibberish.
The last American hostage has been released. We're on this trip to Saudi Arabia.
The last living one.
There's not much going on in your life, is there?
Well, I've been busy, but I've enjoyed it because we're getting things accomplished.
Yes, we're getting golf course deals and buildings and offers of a free plane, and they brought in a McDonald's truck.
Done. You can have times when you're working very hard and not getting things done. That happens too. But we're getting a lot done. I don't think there's
so much wisdom. It's hard to even fathom. Somebody write that down on some toilet paper. I'll need it later.
Period like this with the potential nuclear war, and two countries, they have very good leaders, people I know very well, and it was a very important process. We got involved with India and Pakistan.
You got involved early. Can you give us a little insight what happened behind the scenes?
Yeah, tell us how the India-Pakistan thing went. Yeah, like what did you say when you didn't talk to them?
Well, I didn't like what was happening, and
yes, okay. So you were watching television.
You hear, they're two very strongly nuclear countries. Very, very powerful amount of nuclear too. Serious.
Oh dear.
And if that ever started, boy, that's the beginning of something.
Oh man, if there was ever a nuclear war, it would not be good. Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad we have an expert.
It could be really bad. Even a minimal, you could have millions of people killed. And with one shot, 2 shots.
3 shots, 4 shots.
And I just thought it was something we could get involved in. And I did a good job. Marco did a good job. And JD did a good job. We sort of were a team. And we, I think, convinced them to let's have peace and let's go and make trade deals. If we can.
Nope.
Trade deals, we like that much better than nuclear weapons. And that was a great thing, and we did a good job with the Houthis. They stopped with the shooting of the ships. They
nope.
Shooting
ships. Is that a done deal? Because there's been conflicting reports that
yeah, is that a done deal because they've been firing on ships and at Israel?
The leaders are saying, "Oh, that's not true."
Well, it is with respect to America now.
Yes, the deal is done as far as we're concerned. I've said it's happened, so therefore it is happening. And if they actually shoot at us, I'm just going to ignore it because in the fantasy world I live in, Sean, you're talking to a moron.
Can't always count on somebody necessarily telling the truth, but
Case in point.
their surrogates were very strong, very powerful, very good
Ew.
relationship with them. You know, they're
You mean in Qatar?
fighters. They can take a lot of punishment, but with respect to America, they say it's true. So we'll see. You'll know.
What?
The first to know, won't you?
Well, I follow the news closely. I read everything. I think the biggest
No, you don't. Also, if you follow the news closely, you'll know that they've attacked again.
surprise from this weekend, it was a week ago Friday where I saw that China announced, quote, if the president is serious, we will be willing to negotiate with him. And Scott Bessent, your Treasury Secretary, met with their representatives in Geneva on Saturday. On Monday, you're announcing a trade, well, actually on Sunday, you announced a deal with China.
Yeah.
How did that happen that quickly?
Well, they met on Saturday and Sunday, and they had a deal pretty much from the beginning. It was the concept of a deal.
The concept. We have concepts of a plan of a deal. We have a concept about a plan that we're going to turn into a deal.
And, you know, one of the things that, as you know, it's sort of a 90-day deal as we negotiate other aspects, but
Okay. The deal is the pause. It's a 90-day deal. The deal is the pause while you talk more. That's the deal. Let me know if you need me to slow down if there's too many numbers flying at you all at once, kids.
one of the things I think that could be most exciting for us and also for China is that we're trying to open up China because, as you know, many years ago we opened up the USA. Now it's time for China to open up, and that's part of our deal. And
they got to, even with their bigger population, they don't have the consumer base that we have, and they're not going to.
Open up China, to me, that's the most exciting part. But yeah, we made a deal. The relationship is very good. I've always had a good relationship with President Xi. It was interrupted because of COVID.
Also, no, you haven't.
But outside of that, I've always had a great relationship.
Yeah, outside of a million dead.
A lot of respect for him. And we'll see how that all works out. But
we will. I don't think it will, but okay.
The confines of a very, very strong deal with China. But the most exciting part of the deal, it was mentioned, but we don't talk about it yet. That's the opening up of China to U.S. business. And that would be like opening up a whole new world, and I think it would be even better for China. So I think we'll be able to make that deal, I hope.
At any point...
Great. So it's a hope deal. Excellent. Those are the best kind.
You foresee yourself...
Hashtag hope deal.
Dealing directly...
Hashtag nope deal.
With President Xi on the final details of this deal.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the two of you. The two dipshits who can't read.
I could see that. I mean, I'm not sure that it'll be necessary, but that happened with the UK. We were close to a deal, but we needed 1 point or 2 points on pork and ethanol. Okay, two very different subjects.
Not really.
And I called
a lot of people make ethanol accidentally when they're eating pork.
The Prime Minister was an excellent...
Now I'm hungry. Great, thanks.
Man, Keir.
For ethanol, of course.
Excellent man. And within about 3 minutes, it was over. We made the deal. It was a good deal for everybody. And we have a lot of deals now. We have a lot of trade deals that I'd say virtually everybody wants to make a deal.
Virtually. Yeah. I mean, we've heard them. Like, they've come out ever since, since the British one and since the China 90-day pause. It's been nothing but, like, country after country. We keep hearing about all these countries that are in the process of making a deal. It's amazing. Like, Uzbekistan and Burkina Faso and the islands. Also, big traders in clamshells. We need a lot of those. Wampum, I think it was called.
When I first saw you, and thank you for letting us cover this, report on this from Air Force One. When I first saw...
Thanks for the free trip to Saudi Arabia.
I think you were more excited about the China deal, but prescription drugs, which has been very, very painful for a lot of Americans. 80% of medications are created in America, and then we end up paying more for those medications. Foreign countries do not pay as much as we do. You said that is over. Can you explain why this is such a big deal?
Well, how about this? First, explain how you're actually going to do it. We know you've written an executive order for HHS to do a review of said thing, but you haven't actually shown how you can actually make that happen and not violate the Commerce Clause.
Years we were taken advantage of by other countries and the drug companies, but I blame the other countries in a way more, the European Union, etc. They were very nasty and very tough to the drug companies. And
are they okay? Have you called them? Guys, has anybody who's checked on the pharmaceutical companies right now? Are they all right? Are they sitting in the park, like, on a bench, head in hands, looking like somebody who just lost their dog?
they would give them a very low price for drug costs in the European.
They would negotiate a bulk price for drugs that were necessary for their populace. Weird. Who would do that?
Nations. And when that price was given, that was it. They wouldn't negotiate. They said, let America pay for the difference.
Yeah, that's what they said. Or they said, no, thank you, we won't use that drug then. And the drug companies went, well, what if we gave you this deal? Nah, fuck you. What about this? No. Well, our break-even price is $15. Can you do 20? Okay. 25% profit? Sure.
The world with other countries, and we had stupid people leading us, and especially over the last 4 years, and they wouldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, because this is a new problem.
And it turned out that we were paying, and sometimes you saw 10 times more for the same drug. Same drug, same company, same plant where they make it, laboratory. And it got to a point where I said, we're not going to do this anymore. The pharmaceutical industry is very powerful.
Uh-huh.
Probably the most powerful, considered the most powerful lobby. And
No, I got to go with military. I mean, I suppose pharmaceutical companies could poison you. But my guess is the military would be more concerned. As far as a powerful lobby you wouldn't want to piss off, that would be my biggest concern. I think doesn't mean they're going to. I'm not assuming that they're going to be that way, but I was saying if you're taking your chances.
Democrats were making it impossible to lower drug prices. They knew what they were doing. And I instituted...
Whoops. Hold on. Where's my...
Where we're going to pay whatever the lowest country pays in the world. So if it's the UK, which pays very low.
Yeah, that's what it said in the executive order. How?
Any country. It could be any country, whatever the lowest price is. And the drug companies have accepted it. Everybody accepts it. But
yeah, Don Jr. came up with this, right? He wants to pay the same for cocaine that guys in the actual room cutting it in Colombia make.
The Democrats never wanted to play ball. They never wanted to do anything. It's the Democrats' fault that people were being ripped off for years and years.
That's hilarious. This has actually been something that Democrats have tried to do and Republicans have run interference for. It's why it's not in the budget. He had to do it in an executive order to make a big thing out of it, but it's not actually in their budget, and it's not going to be.
And now I hear Democrats saying, oh, well, we're going to now go for the bill. It's going to be very hard for them not to approve the...
All right, and that's the other thing. He was saying he put it in the bill because if it's in the big, beautiful bill, Democrats couldn't possibly vote against this, even though there's dozens of other horrible things in there, like you'd cut Medicare, Medicaid, and all this stuff. Like, they're not going to vote for it just because it has that in there. You can't just, because if it's so important to you, let's just make it a separate bill. Why won't you make it a separate vote? Because it would pass. It'd pass in a fucking heartbeat. So why does it have to be in the big, beautiful bill? Oh, because you're using it as leverage, and it's just politics.
Beautiful bill that we're doing. We're doing the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country because people are going to be getting a 50 to a 90% reduction in drug prices, not a 0.5%. I remember when I would fight so hard to get a 0.5 point, and I actually had it down a 0.5 point for 1 year, and I was so proud of myself because that never happened before. It was always going up. Drugs only went in one direction. That's up.
No. No, specifically over the arc of a drug's existence, there's legislated a cliff where a generic becomes available, specifically written into law. This is the only other place you find this is fucking Mickey Mouse cartoons.
And now, after studying the industry, it's a very complex industry, but I figured
it is. You figured it out in 10 minutes.
And I said, it's not going to happen. But the Democrats fought very hard to keep the prices of drugs very, very high. They really are to blame for this because they should have done something about it. And when the Republicans went with requests, they said, we're not going to approve it. And now we have a unified Republican Party. But I think that...
Yeah, totally. That's why you've had to punt this fucking bill 3 times.
Democrats are going to approve this bill, too, because how are they going to reject a 60, 70, 80% drug cut?
I don't know. They could say, I'm not voting for the rest of the shit in this, but if you want to pass that, we'll vote on it right now. That'd be easy. Democrats can go, they're just trying to trap us into, I'm not going to throw the entire bill is a poison pill. Just you throw a couple of good things in there to try and lure us into it. I'm not going to cut off aid to poor people and people who are indigent and stuck at home. And no, fuck you. Why don't you care enough to just do it as a bill by itself?
I don't think they can.
Watch.
I think it's going to be huge. The fact that these drugs are the creation of these drugs, I mean, these companies have to go through a very arduous process to get approval by the government. They spend billions of dollars, and put aside whether or not, quote, people demonize big pharma. That's separate and apart.
Yeah.
However,
we usually end up creating
them, and then we end up paying 10 times more, which is crazy.
Well, they used to use that, if I could interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead and interrupt him.
They used to use that as a reason why we were paying 5 and 10 times more than other countries. They said because of research and development. And I'd always say, well, what about you doing research and development for the rest of the world too? Why are we paying for 100%? So we paid 100% for research and development, which, along with other things, believe it or not, raised the price to a point where you were 5 to 10 times higher than the rest of the world.
He's on a fucking loop. Okay, so spreading the cost out over everywhere as far as research and development and all that kind of stuff. I already showed that of our healthcare costs in the country, the top 4 most expensive things, drugs are 4th, and the 3rd most expensive is the sort of miscellaneous other shit. And in that, 1/7 of it is spent on research and development. The cost of medical treatment in the United States is more about surgical procedures, hospital stays, ambulance rides, material like IVs and respirators and the time on those things and medications while you're in the hospital, not chronic disease where you're getting, these regular drugs. It's a big portion of it, as far as, it's like, I don't know, whatever, 9.2% of overall spending. It's about, $400 million, something like that. But the rest of it, there's $4.6 to $4.9 trillion spent on healthcare every year.
Oh, the story today, it was well received. A friend of mine.
Oh, Fat Shot. He's going to tell Fat Shot again.
Slightly overweight, to put it mildly, went to a drugstore in London, and he was able to get one of the fat shots. I call it the fat shot, the jabs, that you lose weight.
By the way, a lot of people laugh at that. Some people get offended by. I don't get offended by anything.
I'm just glad I.
No, and Sean, you're a pussy. You get offended by a lot. I mean, your entire show is you getting offended. You just think because you're self-righteously indignant and you're all riled up that's not you being offended. It is. Can we? All right, hold the phone. Let's clarify this for a fucking second, shall we, kids? While we're at it, because I'm winding near the end of the show and I want to be able to see. There we go. Can I just say that there's been this idea for the longest time that the left gets offended and the right is impervious to it. And I would argue, go look at any right-wing, like Glenn Beck, fucking Sean Hannity, Mark Levin is in a constant state of offense. The head shake and the fucking, like, if anybody's ever been triggered, it's these motherfuckers. It's almost to the point where they don't realize they're offended because that's not the word they use for it. Maybe that's it. But I got to tell you, they're just as offended. Like Hannity, Gutfeld, holy shit. Gutfeld gets more offended at things. Look at his fucking face when he starts getting wound up on things. That's somebody who's offended. He literally, even though he's supposed to be doing a funny show, can't bring himself to be funny about a bunch of these things because he's so fucking pissed. Hold on, I'm reloading my chat because it wasn't moving for some reason. I always have to check and see if I want, right? Yes, Mark Levin, always, self-righteously indignant and stuff. That's offense. They're offended. Mark Levin is still alive. I wouldn't call that living. I'm just saying. Gutfeld has a hair trigger. Yeah, and it's amazing to me, like, how humorless he actually is about a lot of these things. It's absolutely a weakness. Fatty Fat Shot, a.k.a. Ozempic, Gutfeld is offended. Okay, and you guys know this. I don't get offended. I can get insulted if somebody insults me directly, I suppose. But being offended to me is being insulted on behalf of somebody who isn't present, and that the ego involved in that is something that's beyond me. So I don't in any way, like, I just don't do offended. It doesn't work. And again, it's like, it's the same issue I have with problematic. Oh, I'm offended. Oh, that's problematic. Like, no, it's racist. If it's racist, call it out as fucking racist. If it's sexist, if it's anti-gay, anti-trans, call it that. It's not a phobia. They're pricks. I'm not offended. You're an asshole. You don't, and that's the other thing. Like, if somebody's an asshole, that doesn't give them the right to control my emotions. And that's what being offended is. You're giving that gift. Yeah, it's white knighting. You're giving your own emotions away to this person who's just a fucking asshole. I can recognize somebody's being an asshole without being offended by what they're doing in the process of being an asshole. You know what I would consider offensive? The idea that somebody could hijack my emotions without my opinion. So, why do you think my hair looks Gene Simmons today? I think I'm fairly Mark Slaughter, if I do say so myself. I mean, I need bangs, probably. So, yeah. No, nobody gets to make me offended. It doesn't work. Was Gutfeld an actual comic? No, and he still isn't. Dude's not funny. He's never going to be funny. He does this sort of like, it's like an impersonation of other people he's seen be funny. He does all the stuff he's seen other people do to make humor exist, but he can't do it himself. So, just saying. Anyways, that part, it's a sticking point with me. Don't get offended. Stop getting offended. Don't let other people hijack your fucking emotions. What's my sign? I'm a Libra. And my mom's a Libra, and my dad's a Libra. My sister's a Capricorn, but yeah. So, there you go. Let's go back to, where are we? This dipshittery. I think he's almost done.
Use his name. He's actually a very rich guy. He's a very successful guy.
He's glad you didn't use his name.
No, he's very happy. Oh. He knows exactly who I was talking about. He called. He said, that was interesting. He said he was very concerned that I might use his name. It might slip. No, he doesn't have to worry. But he went to London, and he bought this...
Ozempic, Wegovy, one of those?
I guess, yeah. I'm not sure which one.
You're not sure which one? You just said fat shot? It's Wegovy. If he's not trying to bring down his A1C, he's just doing it for weight loss, then it's Wegovy. If he's got diabetes and he's trying to use that, more than likely it's the other two.
Maybe Ozempic. And he
probably Ozempic.
And he called me. He said, hey, strange thing happened. I just bought a drug, same company, same plant, same everything. Everything was the same. In one case, I paid in New York $1,300, and in London, I'm paying $88.
Okay. I'm going with this as actually a story about Don Jr. buying Adderall in Mexico. I'm assuming that going forward.
He said, what's going on? Now, he knew nothing. He's a very smart guy. He's a very rich guy. His big problem is he's seriously overweight. But I don't think the drug worked, okay, to be honest with you. But it makes him feel good anyway. But so what happens,
By the way, this is just him digging at the dude being fat. Can I just point that out? Like, I don't think it's working. What he's trying to do is get a laugh. He thought he should get a bigger laugh on It's Not Working the other day. So he keeps going back to this punchline, trying to dig it like a response out of people. If the guy's on the drug, it's going to have an impact at some point. The other thing is that I don't know when the last time Trump saw this fucking guy. But either way, he's an asshole. This is another situation where Trump's just a prick. Hold on. I'm on the wrong screen. There we go.
He said to me, I paid $88, and in New York, I get it for $1,300 or something. A massive difference. And I said, that's right, the drug laws are very screwed up, and I'm doing something about it. He said, you better, because this is crazy. He didn't understand it, but he didn't understand why.
That's why it was Ozempic. It was the A1C one. So it's a necessary thing for diabetic patients to bring down their A1C. So Wegovy is really just about, it's Ozempic, but specifically on the weight loss aspect of it. Both of them can kind of serve the same purpose, but it's much more specific to the weight loss part of it. Whereas it's more than likely if the NHS has picked it up and the price is really low in foreign countries, it's more than likely the ones that they consider a crucial medicine.
And now he understands why, because he watched our news conference this morning, holding his breath, right? But he watched his news conference. But think of it. So he goes to London, and a lot of people go shopping in nearby or even far away countries, and they'll go away once a month or once a week or something. If it's a nearby country, they'll go right across the border and they'll buy the same drug.
He means Mexico.
1/10 the price as we pay in the.
He means Adderall, and he means Don Jr.
And a part of it is the power of the drug companies, which is a very big power. But I think a bigger part is the ruthlessness of other nations.
Ruthlessness. Yes, they're ruthless negotiating for a better price. Yes.
To screw the United States of America.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about screwing the United States. They're trying to get the lowest price for their citizens, which is what we should do. For the very least, Medicare and Medicaid.
And the European Union would be the top because they represent a lot of countries, and they're brutal. And according to the drug companies, tell me this, they're brutal in
so brutal, just so brutal. They're brutal, guys. They're brutal.
And they say this is what we're going to pay.
And the pharmaceutical companies go, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?" And then it's over. Maybe they read The Art of the Deal. Maybe we should be reading like the French version of The Art of the Deal or something, because apparently
not going to pay any more, and if you need more, you get it from America. And so they get a low price, so we get a high price. And I ended it. And this has been going on for many years, but nobody realized that you could do. I think I figured out the system.
Is there a fucking window open on this goddamn plane?
Very complex chain of events.
Are they on a train?
And I ended it. And I have to say, the drug companies were great. They were great. They're
so great. They are, guys. They're so great. So great.
Look, it's time. They actually looked, they said, it's time.
Hey, Sean. Yeah, that's what they said. Jesus Christ. This whole, like, you got me. That bullshit story he keeps telling everybody. Now, this one is, I think, when he comes back and he gets called out for the $400 million plane, and then he's got the American girl doll that follows him around, running interference for him.
Katie McFarland with us here in New York this morning. Katie, normalizing relations with Syria, talking to Iran, a love fest with Saudi Arabia. This is a whole new look to the Middle East.
Yeah, it's almost like these people are completely trustworthy and haven't engaged in the extrajudicial murder of journalists or, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, look, all the chessboard is moving very quickly, and the chess pieces are moving all around, and the prime mover of this is Donald Trump. At the first week of his...
Who knew all we needed for these negotiations was a man with zero morals?
term, we sat around the White House Situation Room table, just like I'm sitting next to you, and we said, what should we do about Saudi Arabia? They were having a succession crisis. Do we back the old guys, the young guys? So I made the point of, well, we've always worked with the old guys. They're very conservative. They're close to the mullahs. And Trump said, no, we are going to back the new guys. They're untested. And this was Mohammed bin Salman. We're going to back the young guy because they've all been the young generation.
Because Jared and my son have a business relationship with him.
Educated in the West. They're comfortable with women's rights. They're comfortable with open societies. They realize they have to diversify their economies away from oil. That's the direction we're going. So as a result of that, Mohammed bin Salman really owes his career to Donald Trump. So
his career as a royal prince.
This love fest. This is a father-son thing. I mean, because of Trump, they were able to do what they said they were going to do. Because of the Saudis, they did what they said they promised to do. It's extraordinary what they've accomplished.
Watching it.
Nothing. Again, if there are deals to be made eventually, we'll see. But again, this is just him shaking up. Like, he shakes the tree and he assumes that all the people that will come in and clean it up will make sure that, nothing breaks too badly. This has always been his strategy in these situations. Where's everybody afraid to go? Well, we're afraid to go over here because we know the 10 ways this can go horribly. Okay, well, I'm going to go shake that tree, and you guys have to put it back together, and maybe it'll come back together, 10% better than it was, even though I caused 30% more damage.
Extraordinary. We watched it right here. You could see it on our screens and put it out to the audience. Extraordinary. Look, we've got to get to the issue of this gifted plane.
Why is it extraordinary to suck up to the fucking Saudis? Right? This is his same thing of like kowtowing to the royals in England. He loves fucking royalty.
Here's what President Trump had to say about the hysteria that gift has caused. Roll tape.
These planes, the plane that you're on right now is almost 40 years old. And when you land and you see Saudi Arabia and you see UAE and you see Qatar and you see all this, and they have these brand new Boeing 747s mostly. And cars next to it. This is like a totally different plane. It's much smaller. It's much less impressive. And
it could stay in the air during a nuclear exchange for like a year if it's refueled. Unlike these floating brothels that they fly around in, because they don't give a shit.
As it is. And, we're the United States of America. I believe that we should have the most impressive plane. Some people say, oh, you shouldn't accept gifts for the country. My attitude is, why wouldn't I accept a gift? We're giving to everybody else. Why wouldn't I accept a gift?
Because it's for you and for your use after you leave office. That's the problem, because I don't think anybody at the DOD is comfortable with a plane that's been in the possession of the fucking Saudis for 13 years. The plane they were going to give him is 13 years old.
We may have legitimate concerns over this gift, but I don't think we should let it get in the way of the big picture and the...
Right. Yes, that's true. Don't let it get in the way of all the other ways that he's grifting over there with fucking golf courses and buildings and crypto and all that stuff. Yeah, the plane is a distraction from the actual criming he's doing.
That Trump's made. We can't be distracted by that.
Well, that's what they want you to do, right? I mean,
who's they? The Qataris? We didn't fucking bring it up. He's the asshole who accepted it.
Against the fact that we now have peace in the Middle East.
We do not have peace in the Middle East.
Peace between India and Pakistan. That was just with a phone call.
We do not have peace between India and Pakistan.
We have new trade agreements. We're dealing with China.
We do not have new trade agreements. We do not.
The U.S.-UK trade agreement, everything is going really, really well. So if you're...
Yes, because we were all just tortured over the U.S. and UK trade arrangement. All those jobs the UK stole from us are going to come roaring back. Crumpet factories will reopen in the Bronx.
Opposition, what are you going to do to complain about Trump? I guess maybe we don't like the look of the plane. Now
how about the crypto deal, the $200 billion crypto deal that they did using his stable coin, where he made like hundreds of millions of dollars on the exchange of it? How about the fact that he struck a deal for like 3 buildings and 2 fucking golf courses on these same trips while he's flying on behalf of the United States? The fact that he has not removed himself from his businesses at all. The plane is just an example of it. It's just a fucking it's like a it's like a trophy of the whole thing. It's like the Grifter of the Year award.
If you look at the law, it says that a presidential library is able to accept free planes, a gift of a plane, a gift of a ship. President Reagan's library has Air Force One there.
Yeah, they decommissioned one of ours. It didn't come from the fucking it didn't come from Hamas's main enablers.
Trump, they're going to give it to Trump's library eventually, I guess. He's just getting a little bit early and free for the United States. I have no problem with this.
Of course you don't. You worked for him, dipshit.
For you, Katie. Listen to what Trump had to say about tomorrow's expected meeting in Istanbul between Russia and Ukraine. Roll that tape.
We'll bring peace not only here, but I know you're very much involved in helping us in other regions, like what's happening with Russia, Ukraine, etc. And I think we're having some pretty good news coming out of there today, and maybe tomorrow, and maybe Friday, frankly. But we'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah, in 2 weeks, it's going to be a great peace deal.
That meeting, possibly the start of a genuine ceasefire in...
Yeah, yes, it is. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, no question. They're going to definitely... You got it, Varney. Absolutely. That's all he needed, is just get him in the room.
Absolutely.
It is?
And look, President Trump, again, out of the deal. He's a closer. So what has he done? He's had all...
No, he isn't. He didn't close the UK deal. They're still working on it, if there's even a deal there to be had. There's no closing to... The 3-phase deal with China from his last term was never closed.
China, we're with China.
I mean, he closed a casino. Does that count? He closed a football team and an airline and a water company and a steak company and a show.
With Israel, with everybody. Guess who's missing out on everything? Vladimir Putin. He's got to have major FOMO, right? Fear of missing out on the big acts that are going on in the world. He likes to be a world player. So I think that Marco Rubio's...
He is a world player. He is. He owns our president.
There's going to be an empty seat next to Marco Rubio. And if Putin comes, Trump comes, and they're not going to sit around and do nothing. If they come, they get a deal.
So if President...
For a golf course.
Trump gets some peace in the Mideast and peace in Ukraine, should he get the Nobel Peace Prize?
I guess he could probably get it for many things that he's achieved.
If Obama...
That's right, just for the UK deal, whatever that is.
For doing nothing.
Nothing.
Trump could get 2 or 3 of them by the time he's finished.
Katie, I just want to turn to our colleague here.
I'm so glad she's treating this with the seriousness it deserves.
Chaffetz. I want your opinion on this, the gifted jet. Some Democrats are starting to hold up judicial appointments until they get an investigation into this jet.
They're just using that as an excuse. They're holding up all the judicial appointments. Stupid.
That.
Investigate what? Like, what are they going to investigate? It's all above board. You can pretty much go out and see it. And I think Donald Trump makes a good point. We'd be idiots not to accept it.
But you think it looks bad? I mean, $400 million.
It's the Qatar government. The leaders of Hamas live there. They're billionaires. They're in business with the Qatari royal family or the leadership there.
Looks bad is giving billions of dollars to Boeing and them not producing the new and improved Air Force One.
Right. It's a 13-year-old plane so that Boeing doesn't make a new plane here in America.
An investigation, go figure out where all those billions of dollars went and why Boeing wasn't able to complete the transaction. And
because 2 administrations in a row have changed the order.
Air Force One out there. But to accept a plane, it's all above board.
My premise.
No, it isn't, because the promise of it after he gets out of office is the part that makes it a violation of the Emoluments Clause, because he's accepting a private gift before he leaves office. You tit. Real quick, I'm gonna jump into here, and then I'm gonna be off so I can be on the road. Waters on why Trump is bringing home the bacon, which is not halal insofar as I know.
Trump got an escort in Saudi Arabia.
He needed one.
That kind. A military escort from the Saudi Air Force. 47 kicking off his first major international trip.
Yeah, because they were worried about him being fired upon. Those nutty hooties.
The second term. Usually presidents go to Canada, Mexico, or a NATO ally first. Trump picked Saudi Arabia.
Because golf.
That's where the money is.
Yeah, well, there you go. That too.
Saudis rolled out the lavender carpet. Over there, lavender is a symbol of generosity. It represents the blossoming wildflowers in their deserts. Trump, right on cue, rocking a lavender tie match. The Saudi
What a suck up.
breaking protocol and greeting Trump personally on the tarmac. Usually they send an underling. Trump got a handshake. Remember, Biden gave the prince a fist bump after calling him a pariah. Then
right.
Kingdom to pump more oil. And the prince was like, sorry, Joe, not happening.
Yeah, that's what Trump's asking him to do as well.
In Saudi Arabia, to quote the great Lil' Kim, it's about money, power, and respect.
What? Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Which a traditional welcome coffee ceremony followed, but POTUS isn't a coffee drinker. So they gave him a cup and he held it like it was poison. Trump over-caffeinated. Can you imagine? They should have just...
Well, you can't mix it with, I think, the amount of Adderall that he takes. It'd give him heart palpitations.
...him a Diet Coke. The Saudi...
Yes, because that's healthy.
...claimed Trump later took a sip, but we think he faked it. The coffee ritual symbolizes hospitality, friendship, honor, and respect.
Something Trump knows nothing about.
Back in the beast.
Jesus Christ, did you see that? Like, Trump prefers Diet Coke over coffee. That's the Chiron. Cutting edge shit there, Jesse.
Symbolizes hospitality.
No wonder your numbers are down.
Friendship, honor, and respect. Back in the beast. Dozens of Arabian horsemen holding American and Saudi flags escorted him through the streets. In Saudi Arabia, horses represent beauty, nobility, and pride.
Jesus Christ. Why don't you just ask him what his fucking Chinese horoscope is? You weirdo. Hold on. Why is this? Oh, yeah. Hold on. Why is this getting wonky? Hold on. It's because it's after 5 o'clock, isn't it? Who the fuck needs this? Hold on. It's Jesse Waters. Nobody gives a shit. All right. Yeah, it's still not playing through. I don't know why that is. It does this weird thing with the headphones get wonky. It's something I will have to fix for next time. I think I'm playing with fire as it is anyways. So what I'm going to do is, that's the McDonald's truck, by the way. That's what I wanted to show you anyways. They brought in McDonald's for him in a mobile truck. What? Did my Siri speak? That's so weird. So that's the McDonald's truck they brought in for him because he's white trash. And yeah, it's just fucking depressing. I'm going to let you guys go and get on the road myself. No, you don't like the idea of me having bangs? Why is that? It hates Jesse. That's what it is. I think I give my audio system here in the studio a lot of credit. Is this mic okay? Does it sound all right? I'm using just a Shure 57. Yeah, SM50. Yeah. Hold on. There. Move it over here. An SM57. This guy, which is Tiggs, by the way. This belongs to Tig, our drummer. And he's left it down here, so I'm going to use it, for God's sake. For God darn. Now I got to go eat something because I am starving. And then hit the road. So, you know, more and more, it seemed to be okay. I think what we needed to do, yes, the 57 is pretty great for everything. But if it sounds all right, it'll be my kind of go-to when I'm here working on stuff because it sounds all right. I did a show last night. It was super fun. And yes, I got to let you go, Kieran. I got to be on the road. I got to drive back tonight. I got 4 hours of driving ahead of me. So, and I'm starving. So, much love to you guys. I'm glad this actually worked. All I have to do is I just turned down the output to 720 instead of 1440, and that seemed to make everything smooth again. So, I'm going to go clean myself up, throw some food, throw some groceries down my throat, and hit the road. All right, now let's see if I can. I don't even know if this, let's see. This end on here. And, oh, there's music playing. I don't hear it. That's the weird part. There's something here. Go to the sim thing. There's this thing. Oh, that's why I jumped over to that, didn't I? All right. Hopefully the echo cancellation doesn't kill it. All right. I'll see you guys later. That's almost the end. Okay, I fixed it. I fixed the feedback loop. It's always something. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to be on the Tara show tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock my time, 11 a.m. my time, with Tara Dublin and Tara Devlin. Which I'm glad they call it the Tara show instead of the Double D broadcast. Although, never mind.